kami nangim Estonia TV Andrews kita Sydney Slovakia di Chadi
committee, which maybe sometimes is just little bit more important than just to be a member of parliament, because as profession says, this committee deals with foreign affairs. And as Estonia is a member of European Union, this is that I represent a little bit the European Union as well. Although, as I told, I'm not so satisfied with that we don't see here some other parliamentary delegations from the free world, because I still consider it's very important. And I see the main problem is being afraid of this so-called one China policy. And for my colleagues, I always tell that don't be afraid. There's nothing to afraid, because China, of course, after that, when I'm going home, embassy and Minister of Foreign Affairs of China send me, I call them love letters. So these are official cruel notes that there's no such thing as a Tibet or occupation of Tibet. And of course, we don't disagree in Estonia. We disagree, of course, there is Tibet and Tibet is occupied. And this is, I think, the main agenda we are repeating in free world, Europe, and well, but altogether we must be louder.
Thank you very much. So I think that you heard my personal story outside, so I just shortly repeat that thanks to His Holiness, because of his teaching, he helped me to find my purpose of life, but he also helped me to understand what is Tibet about his history, about his fantastic culture, about beautiful country, but also about the suffering. With His Holiness, first time I met roughly 16 years ago in Bratislava, and we took a small picture. I don't know whether you could see it, but I keep it in my wallet, and His Holiness is always with me all my life. Maybe you don't see, but His Holiness has a pin on our charity, Good Angel, because at that time, thanks also to his teaching, I understand that the main purpose of life should be helping others. So I established a charity to help children with cancer, and His Holiness was so kind that even when he came to our country 16 years ago, he said, I want also to help your children. So, and he was a speaker on one conference in Prague, and he said, I should get some money from the Czech Republic. So I tell them to transfer to Good Angel, to our charity. So His Holiness is also Good Angel for our children in Slovakia, because he also helped with amount of money to our charity. And as I mentioned, later, really I understood that it's if we want to help, if we really want to help, that's I should do something more. And Gandhi said that if you really want to help your country, sooner or later you have to become a politician. So I started to run for a president, and I won. And I was a president and tried to help from the top position of country of 5 million people. And then I was really glad then to invite His Holiness to our country to be my guest, and we were together. So, what to say? I am here now the fourth day, and I am very glad that everything what I got from books about the Tibetans, it's true. I met so many nice people, with smiling, with real love, with real empathy, people who suffer a lot. And I still have the tears in my eyes remembering these 158 people who put themselves on the fire for the freedom of Tibet, for His Holiness to give them a chance to return back home. So, as my friend said, we have to speak loudly what's going on. We have to help all world to recognize what's going on, and please, that's my message for all Tibetans. Stay true with your values. Compassion, love, empathy, and world will stay with you. You are not alone.
From my side, one thing more. Yes, His Holiness has visited Estonia for 3 times. And first of all, it was really very meaningful. It was in the year of 1991 when I met him first. And this was the year we broke free from the Soviet Union. And really, His Holiness came to Estonia and blessed one lake, we call it Holy Lake, with the words that that we should keep and we could keep our freedom forever. It was a very, very important message for us. And well, Estonians haven't lost it, really. And today, when we met with His Holiness, personally, I was 5th time I met with His Holiness. He told one very sad episode about when he left Lhasa and talked about last glance to Lhasa. When he had escaped to India from Lhasa, he turned around and described the last glance to Lhasa. Sad. So, but these things maybe are helping you to survive as well, as much as these stories help, for example, not only Europe but the rest of the world understand the situation of Tibet today.
Hello, Mr. Andresh and Yuku. My question is, this year is going to be a very significant year for the exiled Tibetan community because His Holiness will be turning 90 this year. And it is anticipated that he will call upon the world Buddhist leaders to discuss about his reincarnation process, which the communist Chinese has long been interfering in. So it would be really great if countries like Slovakia and Estonia can come out with a statement or at least a legislation calling out the communist China not to interfere in this reincarnation process. Because His Holiness, he is the uniting force and a living hope for the Tibetans in exile and back in Tibet. So it would be really great if you can come out with a statement or a legislation that would be ahead of his 90th birthday, which falls on 6th July. That would be a great gift for the exiled Tibetan community and back in Tibet.
Yeah, Estonian Parliament have already written this kind of statement, and we do it openly when His Holiness gets 90 on his birthday. Official statement of Estonian Parliament.
Of course, the reincarnation of His Holiness, he himself announced his opinion. Maybe his reincarnation will be in the free world, of course not in occupied China. And I think that it's very nice what you mentioned. And I am sure that it should be the worldwide statement. So I think there should be one stronger organization and all of us leaders. Dalai Lama, His Holiness has so many friends, so many advocates. Even you don't know in Tibet how many people love him around the world. Me, when I was visiting, for example, Norway and other countries, once I mentioned that I met personally His Holiness, everyone, wow, that's just something. So I think that there should be a statement and strong organization. I don't know now the name. There are many fighting for Tibet and making a statement and asking us for leaders of the world to sign it. And I think that we would be more than happy to sign it.
I can speak for Estonia. We will do the statement. Absolutely. 100%.
Thank you for being here. It means a lot to us Tibetans. My name is Sampo. I am a freelance journalist for AFP. I just wanted to, highlight what you said in your public speech about maybe it's time that Tibetans switch to, reconsider the middle way approach in terms of what is working, and because the time is so precarious for us right now, because His Holiness is turning 90. And generally, I also wanted to emphasize that voices like yours are rare and increasingly faint. Even though there are a lot of people who love His Holiness, it doesn't always translate into support for Tibet, especially concrete support, and especially when it's compounded with pressure from China and business interests and whatnot. So we could see that all around the world with people, war-torn areas, and the international bodies not being able to do so much. So I want to emphasize how important it is that we have voices like yours, and I just want you to maybe reflect a little more on that statement and how do you see that panning out? If Tibetans are to reconsider, what would be other support system that Tibetans may require, and if there is a system in place that could do that, push it ahead. Tibetans take the lead.
These statements always go like that they will read in our parliament officially, and then media takes it, and of course or in other countries media as well. Well, and I really hope that politics who are in politics then they take together and take the courage to join that. Of course, I understand that it can be a tricky question for a politician who wants to do career, for example, because China is really pushing strongly against that. But what I think that as a situation in the world is really getting worse. We see that line China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and maybe it's my opinion, but I feel that Europe is speaking out louder, and we have some couple of months left there, and well, let's see the rest.
So, middle way of approach is, I think, the way you should keep. You should keep. Of course, we had a discussion, or also we mentioned in our speech that we were under the regime. Slovakia, Czechoslovakia at that time more than 40 years, you were even longer after the Russia influence. And when we started to fight for freedom in 1968, the Russian troops came and started to occupy our country, and even one young person put himself also on the fire and died. It didn't help. Because if the regime is strong, if there is a dictator, the fighting with the mind, with the peace against the weapon is very tough. But I absolutely do agree with His Holiness that also China is changing. There is a new generation, there is a social networks. They get a lot of information, and I don't know how long it would take for all of you to have a chance to go back home. But for sure, once it will happen. Just keep home and never give up. We don't know how long it will take. It could take, 5, 10 years. Nobody knows. But historically looking at the history of all our countries where there were this occupation or dictatorship, sooner or later it was changed and freedom came. So please, just never give up.
These things happen suddenly when dictatorship falls apart. And for example, in Estonia, I don't know, 89, 2 years before collapse of the Soviet Union, really no one believed it. Not only in free world no one believed it, but I think in Soviet Union either no one believed it. But of course we struggled against regime, and we didn't want some kind of autonomy. Soviet Union, but we just hunted our moment, and this is the thing you should do, because the moment will come, but you have to grasp them very quickly.
Hey, I was 27 years old when the socialism collapsed. I was young, and I wanted to have a freedom, and really you couldn't speak what you wanted to say. You couldn't sing what he wanted to sing. We had to go to Russian movies. We had to have the Russian language. And there was like, we didn't see any light in a tunnel for years. Because once we tried.
There was light, but it was dream.
And they used the force to stop our freedom. But then it happened, and I'm sure it will happen the same for you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your experience, but I think it's a good time, a good opportunity to also state that if Tibetans are to choose to seek independence tomorrow, it doesn't mean in any way, shape or form that we're deviating from our moral values or not, or doing it ethically and staying being a peaceful, non-violent, compassionate group of people.
But I know that many Tibetans are not thinking the same way, like the middle way acting is the best thing to do. But you have to decide. This is the point you to decide whether you want to speak it loudly up, so that the other parts of the world can clearly understand what is the purpose and what do you want. It always begins from you.
Yeah, it's just that we worry that we have this illness right now, and we are more than happy if the middle way approach shows us some or if there is a support system enough for it to be effective. And if that is not the case, and if you have to make some adjustment, it's not about switching or changing into something else. It's any kind of adjustment, right? If you don't do it now, if we have to do it 20 years later, maybe that's too late. So I think it's important to raise these things and be able to speak about it openly. Collective wisdom at least.
We are foreigners, so we can just tell you what happened in our country. Of course, it's your decision, your will, and you are the free people. You even have now democratic elections. So, and you have still His Holiness, and I pray for his long life, with whom you can still discuss and put in these issues and get his opinion. Thank you.
To men.
One last question. You must be aware of the US government cutting fundings for Tibetan and Tibetan cause. So, do you think the responsibility now shifts to European nations, including Slovakia and Estonia, to take a stronger stand?
Well, I think that the question is not about Eastern European countries at all, because we know what shit it was to live under that kind of regime. But what is the problem is other countries which have used that freedom for years and years and years, and they don't understand the lack of freedom, the situation, and they live kind of a comfortable situation. And it always feels like, okay, I'm okay, and well, let's don't touch these problematic subjects. But as I told, this is changing, and from Europe we see it's changing quickly, because after the war, what the Russians started, it seems to me, or I hope, that European countries are opening their eyes, Western part, because it's no problem in Slovakia and Estonia to understand this kind of things.
Yeah, but we are now talking about cutting the help from the United States, the decision of Mr. Trump, who said that he would cut the help for other countries. Of course, I had a chance to speak with Mr. President here, and we had a long discussion. I hope that Mr. Trump, he made his decision. His feeling is that the families in the United States are still on lower and lower standard of living, and so he thinks that now he has to focus all money on the families in the US. But I believe that he understands, and we know that he can make a decision very quickly and very fast and change his opinion. And like for countries, like especially for community of Tibetan hears and for others, they would keep the help. And of course we had also discussion how can our countries maybe help, what we should do. And let us think. I think first wait what would be the final decision of President Trump regarding especially Tibetan community living here. It's very important to know the last decision. And then you have to raise your voice and ask for help. And as I mentioned, we have so many advocates in the world, in Europe. So we just have to find a system and to find the right people how to do a help. And we already had several ideas what we could do, but we need the time. And I know that your Mr. President is traveling now. We will travel a lot, speaking with the people. And I hope that we will find a solution.
We told yesterday with Sikyang Pempa that he will visit Estonia at August. And I think if he speaks out there in his neighborhood countries, notice that Scandinavia, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania and so on, and it helps of course, because Mr. Trump acts like chaos. But on the other hand, we all know that everything he says it doesn't come true. He kind of tells more than he does. So I think don't bury the hope. It's not absolutely sure that the US will cut it down, I suppose.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very much.
For your questions.
Thanks.